students. I am Dr. Mava Srinivas Reddy, Reader in History, Andhra Laila College. Students, now we are all meeting here to discuss about the life and preachings of Gowthama Buddha. Gautam Buddha was responsible for heralding a new religious order in this country. Before we go into the details of Buddhism, we must take into account the religious history of India prior to the birth of Buddha and Buddhism. It should be told that the pre-Buddhist religious practice in India were of Vedic kind. During the Vedic period, what we notice, in fact, Vedic period roughly could be divided into Rig Vedic and later Vedic. We find during the Rig Vedic period, Indians have a practice of chanting hymns, invoking gods, and with the blessings of the gods and their presence, they would get whatever they needed from nature. They were not they were not all practicing idol worship at the time. And during the later Vedic period, what we notice is just apart from chanting of hymns, invoking gods, they also indulged in what is called performance of elaborate ritual practices. The later Vedic period corresponds from about, say, 1500 BC to 1000 BC. And during this phase of the later Vedic period, let us say from 1000 BC onwards, it is later Vedic period, up to 1000 BC, that is from 1500 to 1000 BC is Rig Vedic period. In the later Vedic period, what we see, as I mentioned, is called the elaborate ritual practices. If anyone wants to get the religious merit, blessings, one has to offer lot of things to gods, and the priests officiated between the gods and the human beings. So, the later Vedic period, politically if you see, we see the rise of monarchies. Originally, Rig Vedic period, Aryans were only nomads, they were moving from place to place. They do not have settled life, they do not have territorial settlements. But in the later Vedic period, that is from about 1000 BC, the Aryans had started the settled life, and we just then see the development of settled agriculture and the rise of Janapadas. During the 6th century BC, we see the rise of 16 Mahajanapadas. And amongst these 16 Janapadas, we can divide them into two. That is, one is monarchical states, another is called the tribal republics. Tribal republics continued the same kind of political, economic, socio-cultural life as they were during the Rig Vedic period. But the monarchies, we see a change of political, social and economic life. The monarchies had a very vast territories. The Kosala, Kasi, Magadha, Malla, Matsya, they are all monarchical state, whereas there are large number of republics, and we should understand that these monarchies are expanding. Kasi and Kosala for some time were dominant. Magadha took over the Kasi and Kosala, and each monarchical state was trying to eat up the another monarchical state and becoming dominant. So, in this process, what we notice is expansion through wars of conquest. So, by 6th century BC, we see lot of conquests, warfare, bloodshed taking place. Each monarchical state is waving with each other in order to become a powerful state. So, you must think that the monarchies, by expanding their territories, are benefiting by way of getting control over vast territories for which they can impose taxes and collect lot of riches in the form of taxes. Earlier, before the emergence of monarchies, in the Rig Vedic period, there was a voluntary kind of a taxation called Bali and Sulka. But whereas when the monarchies came into existence, the process of taxation, taxing the subjects, and the empire is very vast. Earlier in the republics, the kings, they can move from place to place, they can go about touring around their territorial division in very less time. But when it comes to monarchy, it is a very vast territory. And in fact, the monarchies are spread across vast territories, and they are located on the plains, on the river banks. So a king cannot supervise the entire state, and all the people of that particular monarchy cannot sit together and elect their leader. Whereas in the republics, they are very small, and they are also located in the hilly regions. That's why they are very small. Being located in the plains, since people can move fast and easily, the empires, monarchical empires, are very vast, and they are conquering one territory after another territory. Republics are small, so still the republican form of assembly and assemblance of all the elders of that particular tribe was possible in the republic. So 6th century BC, we see the political division in the form of monarchies and republics. And monarchies are hungry after territorial expansions. In the process, what we notice is lot of life being lost. Not only the life being lost, heavy taxation, and if you want to wage a war, you need to support lot of army, and the army needs lot of food and all other kinds of support from the arts and crafts, and all the proceedings and produce of the craftsmen and guilds. This is what is the phenomenon taking place when the monarchies are expanding. So the monarchies are not only expanding at the cost of other monarchies, they started even looking at the republics which are located on the foothills of Himalayas. And at the cost of these monarchies, republics are dying. All the republican democratic elements, tribal democratic elements, republican kind of governments are also getting lost. So this is a big loss to the republics, where they are losing their political power. And within the monarchical state, what you see is the society becoming more and more Varna based, and Chaturvarna system emerged in the later Vedic period, and we find the Brahmana Kshatriya becoming more powerful at the cost of Vaishya and Sudra. Brahmanas officiating the sacrifices which the monarchies are performing. Monarchies are made to perform the sacrifices with the intention that by performing these sacrifices, God would bless them with the victory over the wars, and through wars the monarchies can expand the territories and gain more tax. And the priests, when they are officiating the sacrifices, they get also a lot of offerings by the kings. So on account of these sacrifices, both the monarchies and in the monarchies, the priests and the Kshatriyas are gaining at the cost of the Vaishya Sudra or the producing communities. So the Vaishya Sudras, it is detrimental to the interests of these Vaishya Sudras. The Brahminical practices, sacrifices, monarchical style of life is detrimental to the life of life of the Vaishya and Sudra. So they were discontented. Similarly, the republican people are discontented. So in this situation, we find everywhere wars, bloodshed, and lot of useful food material being wasted in the meaningless rituals and sacrifices. It is exactly at this point you see throughout the country in the 6th century BC, lot of religious protest against the Vedic religion taking place. In fact, as many as 63 religious heterodox sects emerged in this country, a few among them, prominent among them being Ajivakas, Charvakas, Ajita Kambali, and Buddhism and Jainism being the prominent among them. So now we are moving on to the background under which the Gautam Buddha had established a new social order. I told you that there is a discontentment, religious contentment, and this discontentment is found amongst the lower class of the society around the 6th century BC and the republican states. And Gauthama Buddha was born into a tribal republic, into Jantrika Sakya clan. In fact, Jaina Vardhamana Mahavira was born in the Jantrika clan. Mahavira in Jantrika and Gautam Buddha in the Sakya clan. So Suddhodana, his father, was the leader of that Sakya clan, and his mother Mahamaya or Maya Devi, she actually belongs to Nepal region, and Maya Devi, when married to Suddhodana, had a dream of a white elephant, Hairavat, piercing into her womb. And she was really shocked to see that particular scene in her dream. And when she was trying to take the content of the dream, the sayers told that she is going to give birth to a greatest emperor of the country or a greatest philosopher of the country. And when it was interpreted, and finally when Buddha was born, we find both the parents taking Buddha to, as you see there, to the great sages, saints, and they interpreted that this son may become a great king or become a great sannyasi. So obviously a monarch, a big king would never want his son to become a sannyasi. So Suddhodana, father of Siddhartha, he was yet to become Gowthama Buddha, because Mayavati died soon after giving birth to this particular saint Buddha. In fact, when Mahamaya was traveling to Nepal, on the way at the Lumbini Vana, when he was taking a swing in a in the garden, he gave birth to this Gowthama Buddha, and she died. And Gowthama Buddha and Buddha, born to Maya Devi, Mahamaya, was reared up by stepmother called Gowthama. That's why he is called as Gowthama Buddha. And Gowthama Buddha, his father having feared that he would become a sannyasi, the royal family took enough care to see that Gowthama Buddha does not walk out from the royal palace, and he was given all the pleasures that begot to be a young prince of a royal blood, and he had the company of the most virtuous and beautiful ladies on the entire territory, and he was in the presence of such a company throughout. And he was also given all the training that is needed of a young prince, and he got the Kshatriya training, and he was married to his cousin, who is called Yashoda, and they gave birth to a son called Rahul. At the age of 29, as he was enjoying all the pleasures of the court, he just stepped out of the court and had to see for the first time a deceased man, a man with lot of sufferings, a dead man, a old man. So he was shocked to see. In the royal palace, he was kept in the company of all young lads and all enjoyment. Suddenly he sees an old man with a wrinkled skin and also sunken face, a lot of suffering. He also saw a person with a lot of disease, and he saw a procession of dead person. So all this disturbed him, and asked his companions about the scenes, and they told him that everybody, all persons would pass through all these stages of life. And then he was shocked. He ever knew that life is so sorrowful. So he started thinking that he must give solution, and he also thought that all that happy life that he was leading is not eternal, it is not final, and he was trying to find what is eternal. So as he was returning after seeing all these scenes into the royal palace, a very beautiful courtesan had a look at Gowthama Buddha, and she expressed her desire to be in good company of Gowthama Buddha, and said, "How beautiful that you, great Siddhartha, you are. Can I be a friend to you?" she asked. But Buddha answered. By then he also got in his mind converted, and he said, "Oh mother, for what you said, what can I give you?" And he took out from his neck a very costly jewelless necklace and hand over to that lady. And that night it was suspected that he would leave the court, he would leave the bedroom. So all precautions were taken, but the God's wishes will be greater compared to man's disposition. So Gowthama Buddha left his palace, and he wandered about like an ascetic. For several years he wandered, almost up to his 45th year. So when he wandered about, he was trying to find the truth. He asked a lot of saints of those days, and he did not get proper solution. So finally he decided to go for meditation. So he went for several days of meditation and without taking meal, and one day he fell down because of his weakness, and he was saved from his life by a merchant's daughter with an offering of boiled rice in milk and jaggery. And Gautam Buddha was offered it. With that he got up, and once again he resumed his meditation, and finally he got his salvation. And in that salvation he has discovered the noble truth. What is that noble truth? There is a fourfold path. What he said, the noble truth, that there was a suffering in the world. The world is filled up with sufferings. The suffering was a cause, and the cause, he says, is desire. And he says one can overcome this causation of suffering by conquering this desire, and how one is expected to overcome this desire. And yet he has recommended a path which is called Ashtanga Marga, eightfold path. It reads thus: the entire world is filled with sorrow, and the root cause of sorrow is desire. He preached that person can get freed from this sorrow. The eightfold path is right view of the world. See, in the world, a lot of people have misbeliefs that how the world is created, the presence of God and all that, and superstitions. He said that is not the right view of the world. He says one should have a right world and the right aim. You must have a right aim. See, those days people wanted to conquer, build a big empires. Now also people wants to earn a lot of money. The only aim is to enjoy and earn money, which is not the right aim. Similarly, he says at the time that you should have a right aim. What is the aim? You should lead a pious life. That's the right aim. You must win things in a right way. And then he says, right speech. When you are speaking, you should not hurt others. You should not pain others intentionally or unintentionally. So you must have right speech. That means you must not use any words which are capable of hurting others. So we should, Buddha says that one should restrain in speaking very politely and also in a very pleasant manner. Right action, all our actions and deeds should not be to hurt others. You must not kill, and you must also restrain yourself from stealing and also from indulgence in fornication. And right effort, everybody will have a desire to achieve certain things, and by praying to God and giving your hair to Lord Venkateswara, you are not going to achieve things that you want to, that you have a desire. But what he says, in order to achieve anything, you must put right effort. The effort that is needed to achieve anything. If you want to become an IAS officer, you must make all the efforts. Read for more than 10 hours a day, make a systematic study, read all the subjects, all the lessons, all the units, and you exhaust, and you should feel that when you know the answer for the questions that they ask, you can answer, not by prayer, not by having your wishful things to God that after the success you would give something. That's what he says. You must make right effort to achieve things. If you put even 1 inch of effort that is required, you are not going to win. That's what is called right effort in the proper manner, not by illegal means. And he says right awareness and right mindfulness. When will you have right mindfulness? When you have a healthy body. When your body is healthy, you will have healthy mind. So he gives importance to meditation. So one should concentrate, meditate, and think of your day-to-day activities, your style of life, your journey of life. So meditation keeps you in a perfect discipline and brings about concentration. That's what is called the last path, that is the right concentration. So by following all this, he says that you can actually get yourself freed from all these sorrows, and thus you can achieve salvation. This is the Ashtanga Marga that Gautam Buddha has propagated, and all this which he learned in the beginning, he thought he will not keep to others, will not give to others. He thought each one must get this kind of feeling for himself. So he restrained from giving this philosophy, these whatever he discovered to others. But after some time he thought that after all, I have learnt all this with a lot of hard work and others may not put in, so why not give these findings to others? That is where you see here in this particular scene, Buddha with the aura behind him, with a lot of disciples sitting before him. So he is giving a preaching to a large number of disciples. That is the first preaching at the Deer's Park at Sarnath. That is what is called Dharma Chakra Pravartana, turning of the wheel. From there he goes about around the country propagating these preachings, that is Buddha Dharma. So now Gautam Buddha during his lifetime had to his success a lot of followers. We can say that at times he was standing in the midst of the battlefield, and the warring groups, when they are about to unleash their weapons against each army, by his preachings, his appeals, was able to stop the wars. And I should tell you, there is a story of Angulimala. Angulimala is a person who used to stay in forests, and he used to rob those people who used to pass through forests, and especially used to have a habit of cutting the thumb finger of the trespassers that day. So some people went and appealed to Gautam Buddha that Angulimala is creating those tortures to them. So Gautam Buddha volunteered to go to this particular person. So he went, and he was moving when Angulimala was observing him. Angulimala shouts at Buddha, says, "Why you are not stopping? You know who I am? People are afraid of me. Why are you not stopping?" Buddha says, "I have stopped the minute you said you stop, but you are unable to reach me." Angulimala says, "I am running to reach you, but I am not reaching you. Maybe you are running." "No," Ashoka says, "I am staying at the same place. When you asked me to stop, I stopped, and there only I am standing. You are not able to reach." Then Angulimala realized the power of Buddha and became a disciple of Buddha. And at another point of time, we must tell you that he was able to go and partake food, water, even with the Chandalas. Lot of stories that he visits a lady who ekes out our learning, who belongs to low caste, and people doesn't even buy the curd and ghee that she gives. He is like a Devadasi. He is like a woman who is publicly used for sensual pleasures. So Gautam Buddha one day understood about her. He went and asked for water from her house. When she came out, found Buddha and said, "You are such a great noble man, I will not offer water." Then he says, "I am thirsty, I am not bothered about who you are." That's where Buddha had denounced all the disparities, divisions, discriminations of caste, religion, and says all men are equal. And he opposed the superiority of Brahmins, he opposed untouchability, he has denounced the caste system, and he took the water. And finally, when she requested Buddha that she could whether she could become a follower of Gautam Buddha, he accepted, and she became a disciple of Gautama Buddha. That's how Buddha in his lifetime was able to do a lot of miracles. And from there, Gautam Buddha went on preaching. So in that process, he visited large number of places. Rajgruha, he went almost up to Sanchi and Sarnath, and he used to move to a lot of places. Frequently he used to move from Rajgruha to Vaishali and to Patliputra, Gaya, other places very frequently. One day while he was invited, he never used to have any property in his hand, although he is an emperor by himself. Once he happened to have visited his own palace, when his wife showed Rahul and asked him, Buddha, to give to Rahul what he would like to give. In fact, if Rahul was to become the king, it is Buddha who has to appoint him as the king, because Buddha would succeed Suddhodana, and after Buddha, Rahul would succeed. Buddha would have given the empire to his son Rahul, but Buddha said, he blessed him to become a very good Buddhist monk, And thus Rahul, his own son, no father would like his son to become a sannyasi. See, Suddhodana never wanted Siddhartha to become a sannyasi, but Siddhartha wanted, that is Buddha wanted his son Rahul to become a sannyasi. That is another important aspect of Buddha. He never wanted to have any property. In fact, a true Buddhist should not have any property. He must have only one cloth covering the body, and he should wash off the cloth in the water, and while that off cloth was drying up, he must have the second part of the cloth on the body, and then unravel the second part of the cloth, covering the body with the first dried up cloth, and he should have only one bowl, that also for begging, that also earthen bowl, and he must go about asking for charity, food also, when going around the places, and he should also ask only once a day. That is the kind of the life that Buddha enunciated to his disciples. So, on one such occasion, when Buddha was going about asking for alms, one Chandala invited him for a meal. It supposed that a pork meat was offered to him, and he has taken it, unable to digest it. Gautam Buddha had succumbed, or he attained the nirvana. He attained nirvana. That is the way how Buddha went into nirvana. So now, during the lifetime, Buddha has developed around him a very big area of followers, and all these followers, after the demise of Buddha, had gathered in order to codify all that Gautam Buddha preached. So we can say that immediately after the death of Gautam Buddha, under the auspices of the then king of Magadha, Ajatasatru. Ajatasatru is supposed to be very close relative of Gautam Buddha. At Rajagriha, under the stewardship of Upali, he was the person presiding over the Buddhist council. That is called the first Buddhist council, which was held immediately after the death of Gautam Buddha in 483. And at this, all the monks who are preaching and who are following Gautam Buddha's preachings, they all met and codified the laws, whatever Gautam Buddha has originally told. And after that, the second Buddhist council was held in about 383 at Vaishali, and Sabhakami presided over it. By this time, you find Buddhist Sangha got divided into two groups, Theravada and Mahasanghikas. Mahasanghikas were the people who are practicing liberal ideas, whereas Theravadas are those who are very orthodox. So, that got divided, Buddhist Sangha got divided, and after that several kings gave support to Buddhism, patronized Buddhism. Greatest of the emperors of India who gave this patronage to Buddha was none other than Ashoka, the Emperor Ashoka of the Mauryan dynasty. And Ashoka, under his auspices, he has held a third Buddhist council. It was held around 250, and Magaliputta Tissa supposed to have presided over this third Buddhist council. At this council, he tried to bring about a rapport, because a unity among all the Buddhist practitioners. In fact, it should be told that Ashoka wanted to perform a Buddhist kind of a puja, which is called Upasta. When Upasta was supposed to be performed that particular year, Ashoka found none capable of performing that Upasta. Ashoka asked, why we are not getting a pure monk to perform this particular kind of a Upasta? Ashoka was told that in the entire empire there is no true Buddhist monk, and he asked for the reasons. He was answered that since a king like Ashoka was giving liberal grants to Buddhist Sangha, all the people of different religious sects, they all joined Buddhist Sangha, and all of them said whatever they were following was of the true preachings of Gauthama Buddha. And so a lot of bad things crept into Buddhism, and thus Buddhism got polluted. So Ashoka convened this meeting in order to codify the real preachings of Buddha, and the fourth Buddhist council was held under the auspice of Kanishka, and Vasumitra presided over this. It was held in Kashmir. A third, under Ashoka, it was held in Patliputra. And Harshavardhana was also a greatest patronizer of Buddhism. So, we find Ashoka's monuments in large number of places throughout the country, length and breadth of the country, as you see Sanchi, Sarnath, Rajgruha, and Bodh Gaya, and you see Amravati in Andhra Pradesh. And you will see in the entire country, the first greatest religious monuments starts with Buddhism and Jainism, not with Vedic or Hinduism. The first religious monuments in this country are Buddhist and not the Hindu religious edifices. And Gowthama Buddha, so philosophy had performed whatever role it is supposed to perform in this country of propagating ahimsa, and it is not correct to say Buddhism failed in India. Whatever Buddhism is supposed to perform in this country has aptly performed, and it has crossed the boundaries of this country and went to other parts of the country. And today in the world, you have the greatest practitioner of Buddhism in countries such as Japan, Tibet, Siam, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and in fact there is a kind of revival taking place in Buddhist order in India today. Now, in the entire world, as long as the world remains, the preachings of Buddha will be remaining. No other follower or religious practitioner or preacher has earned such a name and fame and has earned such a Sangha in a peaceful, non-violent manner than Buddha and Buddhism itself. Thank you very much.